welcome to my channel. I'm glad you clicked on the video. Today I'm going to talk about fall transition and where you can find the fish when they're on the move, in between their summer and their fall pattern, when they're not deep, they're not shallow, and some of the lures that you can catch them off of. We did really good on my vibrating jigs that I make. So stay tuned. If you like these type of videos, hit that subscribe button. It just takes a second, hit the subscribe button, and man, it helps a lot. So let's talk a little bit about the transition.
I don't know. Yeah. Oh my God, bro. Please be.
Where you at?
I'm gonna come bring him right to you. I'm gonna bring him to you. Get that net in the water, bro. Oh shit. Oh yes. Shit.
This is dense as fuck.
Please be my 5-pounder, will you?
The fish is
no,
dense.
it's not 5.
It's close though.
Yeah, damn. I'll take it. Look at that, Bass Angler Bait Co.
That's fucking legit, dude.
Yes, sir.
Alright. I'm gonna throw this.
Oh God, that's an easy 4-pounder. Not normally. I bet you in the summer he wasn't, but look at the belly.
Oh yeah, look at that belly.
Look at the frickin' belly on that. Yeah. Love it.
Alright.
Let him back in the water here.
Let's go time.
Yes.
Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to my channel. So I figured I'd do a little bit of a voiceover here so that way I can kind of explain how I've caught some of these fish and some of the spots I'm fishing. A lot of people don't, I don't know about a lot of people, but there's some people out there that don't even think about the fall transition, but maybe they don't think it because it doesn't happen in their lake or something like that. But here where the water gets drawn down a lot and gets filled back up, these fish, they set up on certain spots. They don't just swim from their deep summer spot all the way to their shallow spot. So they're going to stop in between, let their bodies acclimate, and feed along the way as well. And during that time, a lot of people refer to it as a transitional period, which you can refer to it however you want. Everybody has their own way of doing things, and it doesn't mean you're a better or lesser fisherman as long as you get the job done. So that's gonna be something we're gonna be talking about today, and I'm gonna be showing you some of the techniques that I use with the jigs that I make in the vibrating jigs, and also a 7.75 inch Yamamoto Senko. Between those two lures, I've had a pretty good day on the water here, and my partner, I'm not gonna say he struggled to catch them off of other things, but the fish just didn't want anything else except for my vibrating jigs, it seemed. So once he pulled the vibrating jigs out, he just started doing work with them. So it looks like the vibrating jig is not causing a reaction strike at the moment, so I'm gonna switch up to the Senko.
Chance to fish my Senko.
Yeah, dude, if that thing starts rocking, bro, I might have to get one from you.
Oh, you can still one anyway.
That's in your fucking. What size are those? 10 inch?
7 Magnums.
So you can see that you don't have to have finesse line to fish a Senko wacky rig. That you can use heavy line, stiff rod, and high speed reel to do the same thing and power fish it basically.
Yeah. There we go.
Oh, nice.
Third.
Jig?
It's got Senko.
No shit.
Third cast.
No shit.
Yeah, when the sun's up like this, man, they're gonna hug cover. Oh, this is a good size one too. Lay down. Yeah, I can see his gills.
Got a good frame.
Yeah. Ooh, ah, look at that. Ah. Bro, like down his throat.
Fuck yeah.
He wanted that. There we go. Ding the hat again. Keep my idea of where I catch most of my fish from season to season. Let's let it go. Go get big.
Alright, wow, that was a fun catch. I like being able to set the hook with the Senko, and even though it rips it, they're still fun. I forgot the collars that I normally use, which saves a ton of Senkos from being ripped, but I just had to deal with what I had today, so is what it is. You can see the fishing cover that I'm fishing. That's kind of what it is, the story throughout the whole entire lake. You know, they draw the lake down so much that a lot of these trees die off, and then when the water comes back up, you know, a lot of them start to grow back a little bit, but you get these dead ones that just stay there forever, and the fish seem to suspend in there. So being able to, you know, I mean, I have my flip and stick right now available to me. I have this technique, which is known for getting suspended fish, and I have my my vibrating jig ready for, at any moment, you know, I can switch up to see, you know, what I was doing, what I've been doing. What I always do is, you know, when the wind starts to pick up, I go with a moving bait, and then when it dies down like it is right now, then I'll go with the suspending type bait. But the bite did die off here, so with the Senko bite not really being what I thought it would, I decided to pick up the vibrating jig again.
Are severely handicapped.
Oh, big time, yeah.
It's not like that.
No, sure isn't.
I just don't get that. Got it. Good call. Let me reel in real quick, bud.
Oh shit, that's a good one.
Where you at? You want some help?
Yeah, I need that net. I'm not sure how good he's hooked up, and it's pulling. He's dogging. It's a big one. Oh, this is bigger than my last one. Oh, what the fuck? Oh my god, bro, get that. Over here. Get it halfway in the water, yeah, and I'll bring him right into the net. Just bring the net halfway in the water. Yeah, there you go. There we go.
I got it.
Yes.
That's a big one.
Yes, it is.
That's a big one, bro. Hell yeah, brother. See, they're so fat.
Yeah, that's not bigger than my last one, but that's a big one. Damage.
This right here.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That way both of us.
I'm not fighting for that shit.
Yeah. Dang, this is in the bone. He was never getting out. Never in a million years was this fish getting off.
Shit.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Damn.
We can catch his big brother.
There we go. Well, there we go. I don't want to hold this up too high. I don't want people to see. But yeah, big fish. No, it's cool.
Okay, so man, what another good fish. And that one came off of basically the opposite of the Senko, you know, reaction type bait, you know, the vibrating jig. And you know, I designed or built my vibrating jig to accommodate, you know, places that don't want it, where fish are you know, a little reluctant to bite, you know. You know, these vibrating jigs, they create such a thump in the water, but not just that, they have a lot more flash than a lot of these other vibrating type jigs. And when you have a lot more flash, you can pull a lot more fish from a lot of, you know, further distances, and therefore, you know, you're kind of advertising your lure to a lot more fish in the area. And then when they actually get on it, it's really hard to lose them because of the swinging action from the split ring, but also from the positive pressure from the weed guard not allowing that fish to slip off the hook. So but again, you can see we're back to it right here. You know, and talking a little bit about where I'm catching them at, I guess it's a little time for that because, you know, like I was saying in the beginning, you know, fall transition, which may be a name made up by someone who maybe not, but it is a thing. It's definitely a thing, and you know, a lot of times the first person to come up with the label kind of sticks a little bit. And you know, fall transition, at least in this lake, does happen. You know, I'm catching 90% of my fish on the sides, the bluff wall sides of points, and you know, two reasons for that. On the one side, you have bait fish being blown into the point. On the other side, you have bait fish being blown over the point, and some of those bigger fish can get over there out of the current, so they don't have to fight the current in order to get the fish. The fish are just coming to them. Where a lot of the smaller fish, they're on the actual side of the point that's actually getting the banks getting beat by the wind, where the bigger ones were on the other side, kind of hanging out in that eddy, kind of just hanging out there. So when these fish move completely into their fall pattern, they're going to be way back in the creeks, back in the bays. If you don't have creeks like this lake I'm on here, it does not have creeks. You know, you can't travel way back up in there where the current's coming out from the rain and stuff, and the fish have got the baits backed up so far back up in there. You know, there's not all these stops along the way. It's not how it works here. Here you have big huge bays, big huge flats that are covered with underwater trees that the fish will suspend in, and they'll corral those fish into those bays. And so when you're looking, when they're not quite in their fall period, you know, they're not really acclimated to that super shallow water, they'll hang out on these points, so that way they can just travel up the point, get something to eat, and then come straight back down and not have to go from deep water all the way to shallow, and swim a long way to do it. Okay, so after a little bit of chopping up these waters with the Senko and my vibrating jig, I decided to switch to the sexy shad color, and sure enough, had the camera off, didn't turn it back on after tying to a new lure, got a bite, figured the fish was in the tree, and then flipped in there and pulled him out. And I'm using my flipping stick, which is a Halo Twilight 2 7.6 extra heavy, and I had on 50-pound braid, which I'd probably use 65 for now on, and Cobra flipping hook, tungsten weight, bobber stopper, all that good stuff. The bait was it's basically like a pit boss, Havoc pit boss, but a buddy makes them for a hobby. He makes some other ones too that that aren't already made on the market, but this is just one that he makes because it works really well. And so shout out to him for making these for me. They're much softer than the original ones, and they have garlic infused in them. So the more the plastic starts to break down, the more garlic comes out. So after that bite, I exhausted the bite there. I knew that they were, wind was picking up. We're getting closer to the point here, and this whole area that I was fishing is the side of a point. So, there's access to deep water and shallow water. So it allows these fish to come up, get, feed, and then go back deep, because they're not fully acclimated to be in that super shallow water and stay there all day. They got to come up, feed, and go back down. But I am getting some hits here, and this is a good time to talk about that fall transition. This point right here, this is not a bay, this is not a creek channel, but I'm catching fish here. The water is 65 degrees. We're definitely in fall. It's cold in the morning, it's in the 50s at night, and so it's definitely cool enough where this is where we can be in fall pattern in a lot of other places, but or maybe see them a little further back in the creeks, maybe the mouths of the creeks, or maybe the secondary points in other lakes, but not here. Like I said, there's no creeks here, so you have to figure out what they're doing. And like I said, they're usually using bays instead of backs of creeks, and then at the edge of each bay is usually a point, and they're usually hanging on the sides of those points. So I passed the point, and you can see there's that bay straight ahead of us, and that point just to the right there, you can see the rocks, and that bay is where they're really going to be moved into during the fall. But it's such a gradual difference from deep to shallow that they're not acclimated for that shallow water yet. So by hanging on this point, boom, you can see I'm hooked up right here. But by hanging on this point, they can just move up and down very easy and still feed until they're ready to get back into those bays. and decisions is what makes anglers better than other anglers. Decisions, and the decision for me to switch to sexy shad, knowing that the water is more shallow, the wind is picking up, it's going to be hitting the bank here, mixing up that water, make it a little more murky, that sexy shad is going to produce. And this is one of the biggest fish of the days right here, of the day. It's definitely over 4 pounds. I'd say anywhere from, we weighed quite a few fish today. In fact, before we had even come to this spot, we were catching fish. And you'll see here in a little bit that there's some other bigger fish to be caught, but all the fish today were anywhere from 3.5 to 4.5 pounds. And there's a couple smaller ones in there, but not really. The vibrating jigs do a great job of catching the bigger fish and keeping the smaller ones off your line.
Yeah, sexy shad, the sexiest of the shads. See that big old guy right there? See that? Yeah. Nice and easy, girly girl. There you go. Hey, easy. Was it?
Alrighty, so my buddy needed to get home a bit early so that way he can go pick up his kids. So on the way back, I wanted to hit another spot, and this is something that you really want to think about. You really want to pay attention to where your catches are. I don't think my buddy realized it, but every single group of fish that we found today came on an eastern bank. So right off the main lake, we found a spot. It was on the eastern bank, eastern points, but on the eastern side. And every one of them were on the bluff wall side of a point and on the eastern side of the lake, depending on what part of the lake you're in. Because this is kind of like one of those lakes where it's really long, and then it dog legs left, and then dog legs left again, and it's kind of like a big S, So as long as you were, finding a point that stuck way far out, or just where the lake actually turned, then you were able to find the fish there, and it was just every fish that we found came on the eastern side, and it was pretty cool. So, alright, so as bad as my buddy needed to get to the dock, I told him, we really want to be hitting this point on the way out. So we went ahead and just straight from the bay that we were just fishing in, we come up to that east bank, coming out of the bay. Sure enough, there's a little stick 'em up. You can almost see it out there straight ahead of me, and you can see I decided to cast to go past it. When you have another guy in the back of a boat, you can't, I can't sit here and just hit every single thing and leave him nothing. If I like the guy, if I don't like the guy, maybe I wouldn't. But so I decide to cast over it, and he brings in this nice 4.1 pounder. He's really stoked, and he got it off of a Bass Anglr Bait Co. Lure, which you'll see in just a second here.
Yeah, dude.
That one's gotta be weighed.
Oh.
That looks like the size of my last one.
God damn, it's big.
Yeah, show the belly.
Fuck yeah.
I'm sure we're recording. Here we are.
Look at the mouth on it.
Damn.
Dude.
That was caught off that chatterbait?
Yes, sir. Bass Anglr Bait Co. Vibrating jig.
Yes, look at the fucking stomach on that.
Ready?
Yeah,
What are we at?
You're at 4-1, brother.
Fuck yeah.
With the hold.
That's 2 4-pounders.
Shit.
Oh.
Here, let's get that really close. I want to fucking really see the size of this fish.
Look at that, dude. This thing is huge.
See, that's a male. There's no bugged eyes. It's got a long stomach.
Yep. Okay. Look at the mouth, dude.
Damn, bro.
That mouth is fucking tripping me out, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, you are beautiful.
Okay, well, I hope you guys, picked up some tips. I know a lot of you guys are probably, seasoned anglers, but, for me, I always like to watch other people's videos. It gives me ideas, helps me, think of things that I may have forgot. And, there's always something to learn from everybody. So, appreciate you guys watching. All of our fish today were caught on an east bank that was close to a point. And it's those bluff wall sides of the points. And that's the fall transition all in a nutshell. And if you fish the fall transition, you're definitely going to do better than if you were to just go from fish's summer spot straight to their fall spot. So I hope you guys picked up some tips. I learn something new every time I go out. these vibrating jigs and these Senkos seem to be the only thing that we could really stay consistent on. So I really like making the videos. I got more coming up and some more cool things in the works. So you guys hit the subscribe button. If you don't mind, just hit the subscribe button real quick. It only takes a second, and man, does it help a lot. So we'll see you guys later.